I want to do a podcast about films.
I'm not stopping you.
No, with you, you fool.
Oh, so you mean you want us to do a podcast about films?
Yes.
Well, why didn't you say that?
I did. I am.
Well, you can't say films. You need to say movies. It's a more broadly recognised term.
Yeah, don't worry about that now. Are you interested?
Well, we can't just talk about films we like. That would be boring.
Okay, then what about films we don't like?
That sounds even more boring.
Okay, how about this? Films we disagree on.
Ah, intriguing. So one of us likes it, the other one doesn't, and we discuss our opinions on the film?
I think you mean movie.
Yeah, don't worry about that now.
But yeah, that's the gist of it.
All right, I'm in.
Great.
Could still be boring, though.
You're boring.
I don't see how that's relevant.
Should we do one now? Hello and welcome to Movie the Needle, a podcast where two complete amateurs haphazardly dissect a film that one of us likes and one, well, not so much. My name's Simon and I'm joined by my good friend Carl, and we will be explaining our opposing viewpoints and seeing whether we can movie the needle for each other. This week, we're continuing our run on mid-2000s movies with 2007 Greg Mottola directed, Judd Apatow produced comedy, Superbad. Hello, Carl. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks, mate. How are you?
Yeah, excellent. I have to say, though, I was a bit conscious about what I was going to say in that introduction because I don't know what to call the early part of the century, of the 2000s, of the millennium.
Well, it's just the noughties, isn't it?
I was going to say noughties, and I thought that would be ripe for you to take the piss.
It's an awful term.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, is it the noughties? Is it the 2000s? Because you say it's like the 1900s. Why is it not the 2000s?
Yeah, it should be the 2000s, but that's going to lead you into saying, oh, no, hang on a minute. What do I mean here? So what year is this one?
What, this year?
The film. Yeah. What year is it?
What year is it?
Where am I?
This is 2007.
So you'd say 2007, really, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's what you should say.
That's
right?
what you should say.
2007.
Yeah.
But it doesn't quite sit right.
And there's 2011, that works.
Anyway, I went with 2000.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll go with that. Or we'll fix it in post.
I mean, full disclosure, I don't care. So if you want to go with the 2000s.
So I thought you'd be dead against noughties. Well, there we go.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate term.
It is horrible. Anyway, this is the first time I've seen you since you abandoned me and went on holiday.
Abandoned you?
Yeah, that's how it worked, because I didn't go on holiday.
Were you expecting to come?
Me. I mean, an invitation would have been nice, but, you do you, I suppose.
I mean, you're welcome to come on my next holiday. You will have to pay your way.
It's getting less attractive by the minute. Where's it? Southend?
No. Spain.
Oh, well, that sounds all right. So I'm assuming, as it's you, that everything went very smoothly on holiday, no issues?
It was fairly smooth. There was an incident which I gave you a little insight into at the time, where we were left standing out front of our hotel for a couple of hours at 5:30 in the morning, waiting for a coach that never came.
Right.
But actually, that ended up getting sorted. And despite all the potential for it to go wrong, because when I say getting sorted, I mean a guy turns up and makes a quick phone call in a ridiculously short exchange, considering he had to rearrange 2 trips. And I thought, well, this isn't going to work. But it did. So, yeah, actually.
Well, was one guy going, is it Carl again? And the other guy going, yeah.
Well, they don't know.
Can you
who
sort
I am.
Well, I thought your reputation would have spread, but, fine.
Well, I will say this, though. On the rearranged trip...
Was this whale watching?
This was whale watching, yeah. Which we then had to rearrange to the only other day they went out and did that, which was a day we had another trip booked, hence why we had to rearrange 2 trips. But on the rearranged whale watching trip, it's quite a long transfer time, about 4 hours. So we got our actual own private transfer from the hotel, because normally nobody from our hotel goes on that day. We were on the other day. Got our own private transfer for the first hour, and then joined up with a coach load, and that worked again to my surprise. We got the transfer, did the trip. On the way back, I'm thinking, here we go now. We're going to get left behind. We didn't. The guy goes, you come with us this way. This is your transfer back here. And we walked past the transfer that we had came in, same driver, and we went to another one. I was thinking, did he mean to put us on the other one? No, he definitely said this one. He told the driver the name of our hotel. It's all going to work out, right? Wrong. So we get maybe 20 minutes down the road, and this is a really old, battered, almost school bus type thing. Still by no means the worst transportation I've had in the Dominican Republic, by the way. But that's part of the charm.
Humble brag there, just dropping in Dominican Republic, just casually.
Well, it's I'm just trying to capture the idiom of the place. The bus essentially breaks down. We pull into this big car park. The guy who speaks no English, tells us that we're going to just wait. And obviously it's obvious what's going on. We need to wait to be rescued in some form or another. And then a little, I guess, like a 7-seater taxi type thing. Not an actual taxi, but that sort of vehicle turns up. And then our driver then jumps in the driver, talks to his mate who's dropped the car off, jumps in the driver's seat. Okay, fair enough. We're going to complete the rest of the journey in this. Nearly. So he set off, and the thing's veering all over the place. And we're sat thinking there's something's not right here. And it becomes pretty obvious that he's left his handbrake on. It becomes obvious by the smell of burning.
Yeah.
And then we're sort of looking around on the dash, and Vicky's sat in the seats in front of me, and she sees, it says there, parking brake. She's trying to tell him. Vicky's turning around to me going, well, I don't know what to say to him. I was like, well, say it in English first. There's a start, right? But I reckon pointing and gesturing might...
Then say it with an accent. This is how it works.
Yeah. And he's like going, oh, no, it's fine, no problem. It feels like there's a bit of a problem. And he's taking it really gingerly as well, because obviously he knows the thing's not handling normally, waving all over the road. And then about 5 minutes after Vicky said this, he starts fiddling and trying to press all these buttons, and he doesn't know what he's doing.
The parking brake's a pretty simple operation usually.
Yeah, well, seemingly there wasn't a button for it, which suggests that it should have automatically been turned off when he set off. In which case it was buggered. If it wasn't buggered then, it is buggered now. So we were having a good old laugh and a joke about how when we were doing the whale watching, we had to go across this open bay in the sea, and it was quite rough because we were speeding out there, sort of sail leisurely back, but speeding out there. And we thought, I thought it was the water we were going to die. Fair play. It's the motorway instead on the way back. So he was going gingerly along. We were having a good laugh about how wrecked his car's going to be, and he's going to have to explain to his mate that he's driven the whole way in park, essentially. Anyway, we eventually get back to the hotel. When I say eventually, I mean it, because he went to the wrong place first.
Of course, yeah.
He's sort of driving down to, I think it was like the town next door. And, you do that thing where you go, I mean, granted, I've only seen this a couple of times, but I'm sure this isn't right. And then he goes, there you go, and points at a random hotel. No, that's not us.
Well, at least you're a strong enough will not just get out and go, well, he says it's us.
I mean, I think Vicky might have done.
I might have done as well. Just like, I might be wrong. I mean, he's a local. He's going to know.
So, no, this isn't us, so I have to try explain that we're the next town over. So we get there, and then he goes to let us out. None of the doors work except his and the passenger seat. The sliding doors on the back don't work. And he's trying everything. So the electrics are buggered as well. And I was thinking, what's brilliant about this is in a minute, I'm going to get to watch my mum have to climb over the passenger seat to get out of the passenger seat door. But I don't know how he got them out, but all's well that ends well.
What do you mean you don't know how you got them out? You just walked off. You're like, but
no, I mean he fiddled around long enough.
He fiddled around with your mum and then sorted. Hey, presto.
Well, I don't think she had much to do with it. But so there you go. So no, I mean that was it actually going smoothly.
Yeah, that's not bad for you actually. Yeah, that's not actually too bad.
Yeah. So
enough nonsense. Are you ready to move my needle?
No.
Oh.
Because I did promise you last time we spoke on this podcast to tell you about the films I watched on the plane.
Ah, you did. Right, go on. Wow me.
Let me open by saying I've watched, I think, 5 or 6 films since we last spoke, and I am crying out for a good film to watch.
Oh, you've been on a bit of a bad run.
Oh, it's terrible. And I don't just need a good film to watch now. I need like another 12 Angry Men to just drop in the lap to just restore my faith in the medium.
There are good movies out there.
Yeah,
there are.
Well, so on the way out, I watched Amsterdam.
Right. Is that based on the book?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if it's based on the book, but it is based on a true story. So
Not then. I don't think it was definitely a novel. So.
Oh, okay.
So are you starting on the best or the worst films that you saw?
Well, this is just the order I watched.
Chronological order, okay.
Yeah. So Amsterdam, I'm surprised you've not heard of it. Big ensemble cast. Christian Bale, Robert De Niro, John David Washington, Margot Robbie.
Oh, okay, right. I should really have heard of this then.
Taylor Swift's even got a cameo. She's quite good in it. Anya Taylor-Joy, Rami Malek, Michael Shannon, Mike Myers.
That's an old David O. Russell one.
Yeah. So I was expecting big things because, I mean, you look at the cast.
Yeah.
Quite an interesting premise. Essentially a period piece in which becomes a bit of a murder mystery and a bit of a black comedy. Started off reasonably well and just didn't really get going. Quite long.
I'm just looking at this cast. It is
stellar.
Stacked.
Yeah. Stacked. Yeah, Timothy Oliphant there, of course.
Of course, yeah.
Getting another mention on the pod. Yeah. And you've got 2 famous Mikes in there, Shannon and Myers.
Mikes, yes, obviously.
Oh, and Andrea Riseborough as well. She's great in everything she's in. Chris Rock.
It's almost pretty impressive they've not managed to make a good film. It's actually maybe harder to put these people in a room.
Yeah, pretty much what I said in my Letterboxd review was, you wouldn't think it could be done, but fair play, they've managed it. Yeah, a bit of a letdown. It just never got going. Just a bit of a letdown. Then...
Should I give it a watch?
You should give it a watch.
Okay.
Yeah, you should give it a watch.
I'll give it a watch.
I think I gave it 2 out of 5.
Oh, that's a solid 5 out of 5 for me then.
I might have even given it 2.5. I'd have to check.
Oh.
But yeah, you should give it a watch. It was disappointing because I wanted more. Christian Bale's good in it. I think he's got some decent chops anyway, but I think he's got that timing that you need for some subtlety that you need for a good comedic performance. I think he gets that right.
Okay. Did we go uphill or downhill for your next one then?
Downhill for the next one. Okay. The next one was... no, hang on a minute. Was this on the way out? Was this the next one? Yeah, I think this was the next one. This was on the way out. The Intern.
The Intern?
Another Robert De Niro one.
Oh,
Anne Hathaway.
Comedy, in theory.
Have you seen it?
No.
No, well, you wouldn't be saying the word comedy,
let me tell you. It's meant to be awful, right? Isn't it? Is it not meant to be really bad?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty bad.
I'm pretty sure at the time, I was like, no, I might give that a watch. And then literally everyone I spoke to was like, no.
I mean, I don't want to say too much about it in case you like it, because it would make good pod fodder.
Okay. Well, there we go. But you didn't like, okay?
I did not like.
Okay, didn't find funny.
I did not like. Let's leave the humour out of this. I did not like this film.
Okay. Would it sit on the really did not like?
It could sit on the really did not like. Okay. I mean, I gave it 1 star, which isn't necessarily the same as really not liking it.
Okay, right. So potential there, right? What's next?
And then on the way back, I watched Jungle Cruise.
Right, yep. The Rock.
Yeah, not in this order. I forget now. I'm going to have to check my Letterboxd. Yeah, Jungle Cruise, which is quite a fun film. Does fall off a bit.
Emily Blunt. I mean,
Emily Blunt's
can't go wrong. But what did you think to that?
Yeah, it's quite fun. It falls off a bit, but it is quite a fun film.
Okay.
That's probably the pick of the films I've watched.
That's the highlight.
Yeah, wow, I'd say so, which, tells a story.
Yeah, it does. How did you pick these films, just out of interest? Because you said you didn't really have a criteria when we spoke last time of the films you watched. It does show you don't really have a criteria.
I had been wanting to watch Amsterdam for a while, so I thought, well, now's a great time.
Yep.
I'd seen clips of The Intern pop up on TikTok.
Right.
And let me tell you, the clips they use make it seem like it might have a bit more to say.
I mean,
than
TikTok's got a lot to answer for.
Trailers in general, I think you'll find. But yeah. So I thought, I'll give it a whirl. And then after that, I'd sort of seen the other good ones that were on the list. Like Dog Day Afternoon was on there. I watched that previous holiday not too long ago. So the list had hardly changed. I can't remember what was different, but Tenet was on there. I did think about giving that another watch, just so I could tell you I'd watched it again, just to annoy you.
Just to anger me. Yeah.
Yep. And there was one other one. I think
any tearjerkers, any ones you cried on the plane. That's what I want to know.
No tear jerking.
Just any. No, never mind. All right. Okay, so this week we are talking about Superbad. So let's share where this falls on our 5-point scale. So just a reminder, that's really don't like, ambivalent, like, and really like. And I like this film. I'm on the verge of really liking it. I could be convinced, but I don't think you're going to try and do that today.
No, that wouldn't work for this format.
No, that is true. Where does it sit for you?
I don't like this film.
What don't you like, Carl?
Oh, Tories.
I meant specifically about the movie, but good to know.
Okay. Okay, so why don't I like this film? Superbad. Will that do?
No.
All right.
I was really...
Superbad is Superbad? Superbad? More like Superbad? I mean, which way do you want it?
I was genuinely going like, I can't fall down this trap of
you
going,
love puns.
it's super good, it's super bad. And then there you go, straight in again.
You think it's good. I'm allowed to say super bad.
I genuinely avoided it on purpose because I thought you'd mock me again.
Do you know what? Right, I could put my entire criticism of this film and hang it all on this one joke and just say that again and again and again, and I'd still be putting more substance out than this film puts out, right? So... It's pretty unimaginative, right? Not necessarily a problem. I know we can get into that. It's basically just American Pie again, but for the next generation of millennials, right? So we've gone through, millennium culture, and we're arriving at that sort of nadir. Some people might call it a zenith, right? But we're arriving at that point where everything is about the shock value of profanity, and the cruder you can be, the funnier, the cooler something is. And that's the only thing that's happened between American Pie and this film. But we're essentially just going to have another film about kids trying to get laid. Only this time, every single joke is a swear word. And it just it's so incredibly one-paced that same joke stretched over and over just reinforced profanity over and over again. And that's why I don't like it.
So that's interesting, your comparison there to American Pie. Because obviously, similar genre of film, separated, as you say, by a number of years. You're almost into a different generation of viewer.
You definitely, because those kids have grown up.
Yeah. But I think it's I found it a very different film to American Pie. I didn't see it quite as there's less of the sort of gross out style of things. It's less of like a boner movie kind of thing that you could say. And when we start to talk about in depth, we go into the plot, I will cover this more. But I just think it is. I'm not saying it's deep and meaningful, or by any means, but I don't think it just relies on its profanity for all of its humour. And I think actually there is an underlying heart to this, which actually helps it in it becoming a sort of more of a complete film than just knob gags and fart gags and drinking cum.
I mean, you are impossible to work out, because one week you'll be talking about how you want to take a film at face value.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. It's not. There is not a hidden message here. There is not a thing, but there is like, and this is a different interpretation to when I initially first watched it back in when it was released.
I just thought you're going to be here giggling in your own effervescence. he said cock again. But now you go, oh, well, there's a deeper meaning to this.
No, I didn't say it was deeper meaning. I bet there is more going on than just swearing for the sake of, to get the humour. In my opinion.
Your opinion's perfectly valid. I'm merely pointing out what I see to be the hypocritical nature of your approach to the enjoyment of films.
I think inconsistent. Which is fine as well. I think inconsistent.
Yeah,
more than hypocritical. But...
That's a fairer word. It's less fun, but that's a fairer word.
Okay, let's talk about the cast. So this is obviously led out by Jonah Hill and Michael Cera. Sarah? What do we go for?
Sarah. Sarah? Yeah.
So I'll start because I like it, and you can then tell me the complete opposite. Mm-hmm. So for Jonah Hill, this is, I think, the first thing I saw him in, or certainly the first thing I remember seeing him in. And I do recall when I first saw it that he did seem a little bit of a revelation, and I think he delivers his lines. Like, there is a lot of fast-paced sort of dialogue. Yes, it's largely vulgar when they're
Jonah Hill is good at what he does.
Yeah, and now more of a serious actor as well, which I don't think you would have seen coming had you just watched Superbad. What do you think of Jonah?
He is good at what he does. But there's a time and a place for what he does. Now, I appreciate that you arguably could not get more of a time and a place for Jonah Hill's antics than this movie. But, fuck me, it wears thin. And I don't like him anyway. Although I can recognise that, you need a character like that. He's your guy, right? He grates on me, and I just wanted less of it. I was like, just shut up, you dick. This guy's a dick. Do you know why Jonah Hill's character is like he is?
Why he is like he is?
Yeah, it's a bit of a misleading way of asking, but do you know who wrote the film?
Yeah, so it's Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg.
Yeah.
And obviously the character's named after Seth.
He is young Seth Rogen. And in fact, Seth Rogen was going to play him.
Before he got too old.
Yeah, by the time they got around to shooting, it was like, okay, well, we do need to recast this. And if you need a young Seth Rogen, you probably could not do any better than Jonah Hill.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look, he's fine, but I just got sick of his character.
But I think a little bit, he's kind of meant to come across as a dick, right? Because he is very much highlighting the fact he is selfish, single-mindedly just pursuing, getting laid, losing his virginity, and to the expense of his friendship and anything else. It's like single trap mind. And like, you start off, I started off with him, like, you're like, oh yeah, funny guy. But you do start going like, oh no, he's kind of, he is a bit of a dick. But he's also,
I got straight there.
A 16, 17-year-old boy, obsessed with girls and getting laid, and that's actually probably quite realistic about how it goes.
I don't think he is that funny, but I think if you're going to put a character in to just be that annoying, obnoxious person, he did a great job. You couldn't cast anyone better, I don't think, for him.
So what about Michael Cera then? What's your
Never
thoughts
been
on
a
him?
fan. Never been a fan of Michael Cera. He's just really, really flat and unengaging to me. And he's one of those guys that does the same thing in every film that he's in. And he had a run around this point where he just pop up. Oh, it's him being him again.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree that. Again, I don't think he seemed very familiar when I first watched this, and obviously since then he has done a lot of Michael Cera characters in Michael Cera
now.
Michael Cera.
You've changed halfway.
Michael Cera films. In he's being Michael Cera. And I hadn't seen.
How do you feel about Cera?
Who?
Michael Cera. How do you feel about
Cera.
That?
Oh, should we? Yeah, let's just go for it.
Cera? Maybe he's got any Italian in him.
Michel Cera.
Yeah.
Not a Mike. Not Mike Cera.
No.
Sarah.
Mike Cera.
Oh, good Lord. But yeah, I hadn't watched Arrested Development at the time, so I'm not sure I actually was familiar with him at the time of first watching this. Obviously now, he's kind of made a career on that kind of character.
I'd seen Juno before this, and I think possibly even Scott Pilgrim versus the World before this as well. So, I mean, I can't honestly remember what I thought of him specifically the first time round, but I imagine it was something along the lines of, oh, here he is again.
It's interesting, though, because I was thinking, like, who would you get to play that character instead of Michael Cera? Because I struggled to think of anyone.
I've got someone.
Go on.
Well, the obvious go-to is Jesse Eisenberg, because he is essentially just a nasty version of Michael Cera. They almost look identical.
Yeah. But he is nastier.
Yeah, but the only reason I would say that's the alternative is just so that he can actually bring fucking something at all to the screen, rather than just this flat, placid thing that Michael Cera also brings. Although, of course, that would then be something else for me to complain about, because I really don't like Jesse Eisenberg.
I don't know. I think for the character that he is a Michael Cera character. Like, it fits for me anyway.
I wouldn't disagree, to be honest with you.
And what about old McLovin?
Now, Mintz-Plasse, he is good.
And this was the first thing anyone's seen him in, right?
Yeah, he was only 17 at this time.
Yeah.
So for the sex scene, had to have his mother on set.
Nice.
By law.
That'll help.
Well, it probably will. I mean,
that's what I mean.
You know, yeah. It's probably not good form to. Yeah. Yeah, I think he's great in this.
He will always be McLovin as well, though. That's kind of. I think that was.
I mean, I like his character, and we'll get onto that when we do plot and production and things. But I do think he delivers the best acting performance in this movie. I think he's genuinely good, because his character is actually the most rounded as well. And I think he gets through the gears. I think he's really good in this.
Can you see him becoming a accomplished dramatic actor, a la Jonah Hill?
I mean, I don't know what you're basing that on. I've only got Moneyball to go on there.
It's largely Moneyball, and a degree of what's it called? Wolf of Wall Street, where he's not the same. He's not the same character. He's not a Seth Rogen character.
He's pretty much.
But he's got Oscar nominations. That's what I'm saying. What I'm going for here.
Yes, we know all about those.
Yeah, and yeah, they only ever award the best actors, as we know. Yeah.
No, I don't know. I couldn't actually tell you if he's done anything else. I don't think anything I've seen. But I thought he had some pretty good chops in this. I believed him with the various bits he was going for. So fair play to the guy.
And it's a pretty iconic. Pretty iconic character introduction. You know,
it's a shame he'll have got paid absolutely fuck all for it.
But he's made a career off it, so I think he's all right.
Yeah, he's probably picked up more
he's
since.
He's probably done all right. Yeah. And then rounding off the main male characters were the two cops. So Bill Hader.
Yeah, but I like Bill Hader.
Yeah, he was good. And Seth Rogen, obviously wanting to get himself in his own film.
Yeah, less of a fan of Rogen, but he's fine in this.
Yeah, I mean he is someone who pretty much does Seth Rogen. There is no range, right, that I've seen anyway. They have a lot of fun though. They do have a lot of fun as the cops. You can tell they are enjoying themselves. And I remember when I first watched this, like I was like, I'm not really a fan of the cop bits. Like, it feels like it's too much of a detraction from the main thing. But actually, like, on rewatching, I was like, without that,
the main thing's picture boring, mate.
It would feel, as I say, without that, I think it would be a much lesser film. So I mean,
McLovin should be the main character in this film. The problem with that is you can't do that without setting him up with as the third wheel sort of thing.
Yeah.
And the guy they sort of use to get their story. So, it'd be a different thing. And similarly, the cops provide some much needed content, I would say. Because I'm not getting it from the main two, I have to say.
What about the female characters? We've got Emma Stone in her first film role. I love Emma Stone, by the way. I'm a big fan of her, and I thought she's pretty good in this and I'm going to use this very loosely, a normal-looking dream girl. She's obviously...
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
But she's not like the cheerleader type, She's not.
She is like the very, 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 very top end of unconventionally attractive.
Yeah.
In much the same way, funnily enough.
As me.
Sure. In much the same way, funnily enough, as Ryan Gosling. And I think it's ironic that it's taken a film like Barbie.
You can't look at Ryan Gosling for too long. That's the problem. If you start actually analysing his facial features.
Yeah. You go, you've got quite an odd face, haven't you, sir? But he's obviously a good-looking guy, but very much, again, in that unconventional sort of way.
I want to give Ryan Gosling my body and see if people still find him attractive.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I don't want to think about that, but it's there now, isn't it?
And now you will. Yeah. So...
No, I mean, this film is obviously really, 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 really sausage-centric, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's kind of told through all of the male characters.
So that's absolutely fine, because it's, we don't need to wage in on some feminist debate here. But it did get me thinking.
Please don't.
I wonder what the female equivalents of these films are.
Have you not seen the female equivalent of this film?
No, I don't think so.
So, the female equivalent of this film is called Booksmart.
Okay.
And it's very good.
Right.
You will hate it, obviously. Because
well, maybe not.
But that Booksmart is about two female friends in high school who have gone through a whole of high school being very good academically, just focused on this getting into good schools and not having fun and party. And then they realise at the end that all the people that have been having fun and partying are also going to really good schools. So they essentially have to try and fit in like a day or 2 days their whole high school experience of debauchery and fun and stuff.
That really does sound like the...
It is like, the more I thought about this, the more I was just like, oh my God, it's actually like it's basically the same film, but apart from...
that one might be good, though. Is that what you're
apart from realising it is good.
Yeah,
it's good. This one is also good, though, Carl. You're forgetting that. But Booksmart, it's worth watching, and it's similar, because the male characters in this film, obviously the source of their regret, I guess, is that they've kept their little friendship group too tiny and inner focused through fear, and haven't gone out there and done more and stuff. And it's kind of it's a similar premise, but more academic.
I'd be interested to give it a watch, because
you should.
There aren't. Unless I just don't know about them, there aren't a ton of films out there like that. So
that's about the only one I can think of.
So to round off the Emma What's-Her-Face point,
Emma What's-Her-Face?
She obviously doesn't have a great deal to do in this film, but she does deliver a great, what the fuck?
What the fuck? It's one of the highlights, the headbutt, and then just the headbutt.
Yeah. You still didn't get that right. Do you want a third go?
The headbutt.
Wait, Swedish? Is it a Swedish headbutt, is it?
Yeah. I think she, like that. What she has to do, I think she does excellently, and you can see why she's gone on to great things. What about some recasting then? You've already said one. Have you got any more?
No, and actually you've already mentioned why, because where are you going to get a better Seth Rogen? Young Seth Rogen,
younger Seth Rogen,
You couldn't do it. So you're not going to touch that. Michael Cera, I mean, again, for what he is bringing, which is nothing, no one's going to do it better. Mm-hmm. You could pick someone more annoying, like Jesse Eisenberg, the arsehole Michael Cera, TM. And similarly, but for much better reasons, who's going to replace Mint Plus and do a better job?
No, I was thinking, right? I couldn't think of a single person that was just like, there's just no one. It's just, yeah. Jennifer Lawrence was considered for the Emma Stone character.
Okay, yeah, see that.
Could see that. I think right decision. The only other person...
It makes no difference if I got a bit part, but yeah, okay.
But she's great. The only other thing... I love Emma Stone. The only other person I thought could, or I thought maybe would have had a spot, and maybe this was too early on in the Apatow series, but having a James Franco in there as a cop rather than Bill Hader. I thought he might have been someone to consider. I'm not saying Bill Hader was bad. He should be replaced.
Isn't Dave Franco in this?
Dave Franco is in this. He has one of the great lines in it.
Are they not the same age, you know?
No, I think they're a fair few years younger.
Okay, right.
Yeah, they didn't know he was James Franco's brother either.
Really?
Yeah. So says IMDb trivia.
Yeah.
So yeah, probably did.
You know the kid, and I think you mentioned his great line. What was the great line? Dave Franco's great line.
I wasn't necessarily Dave Franco's great line, but it was just like, well, why don't you go piss your pants? Dude, that was like 8 years ago.
Oh, okay,
no one forgets.
I'm getting mixed up. I'm thinking of the bit where they reference the kid eating his dessert on his own.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I looked at that guy and I was like, oh, that's the guy who plays the killer in Jack Reacher. Right, but obviously, 15 years ago
right.
or whatever.
Good spot.
Well, but it isn't.
Oh, right. But bad spot.
Yeah, so I looked up. I was like, oh, I'll check that because it looks like they've got the same face.
Yeah.
Couldn't find a credit for it. I was like, that's strange. So I just put it into Google. And then somebody said, oh, he was based on a real kid at Seth Rogen's school that really ate alone. And this was on Reddit. Somebody had said, so, take it with a pinch of salt. I went to that school, and he really was like that, but he also killed himself.
Wow, shit.
So I'm like, oh, shit. Like, I don't know if that's true, but it's a little bit ominous that there's no credit for this character in the film.
Jesus.
So I'm like, oh.
Wow, you went deep into the rabbit hole.
So not only is it not the guy I thought it was, it also now might be a deceased person. But we only have Reddit to go on for that.
All right, so we move on to the production, which I think is I found this one a difficult one with a comedy. I struggled to think of the usual stuff that we've been talking about, such as it looks pretty.
Yeah.
Doesn't really think. I guess the best thing I could say from how it was shot would be that it kind of felt like authentic. But, considering I've never been a American teenager in California, that take that with a pinch of salt. But it kind of felt like, this could be a real place with real kind of people in that kind of high school.
Oh, I didn't mind how it looked and sounded at all, and I don't know enough to know what's good editing and bad editing.
No.
And nothing jumped out.
Or even what editing is, as we proved earlier.
Nothing jumped out as to be obviously bad. I read a couple of reviews, when I do that thing when I try to find something to agree the fuck out of.
Yeah, steal it.
Yeah, and then pass it off as my own because they've always worded it better than I have. And in far fewer words.
Yeah.
And a couple of the bad reviews would say, it's really lazily edited, and I'm just like, it seems all right to me, mate.
Yeah, I don't know. Not something I noticed.
I mean, one note I did put down was, because I think they're essentially the same film, I noted that it is much more low-key than the rather more glitzy American Pie, which was fine. And in terms of, more directorial decisions, the only other note I've got would be to dial Jonah Hill's character the fuck down and round him out a bit, because I know you're going to come on to talk a little bit more about there is a bit of a message behind some of these characters in this film, and I just thought his character gets in the way of that big time, because I could do nothing but detest the little prick.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's necessarily the message as such. It's definitely not a messagey film, but yeah, I mean, I think from a script side of things is probably where we're going to diverge fairly strongly by the sounds of it. I thought it was, I thought it was a pretty tight script in terms of how things were delivered. I didn't think there were this is probably where we're definitely going to disagree. I didn't think there were a lot of sort of unnecessary, just for the comedy scenes, or overly improvised stuff, which I've seen with some of the Apatow produced stuff where they've clearly just gone and now talk, just make it up as you go along kind of thing.
I do have a fun fact on that.
No, go ahead.
So Jonah Hill thought that most of his dialogue was improvised for this film until he and Apatow sat down to either do some ADR or do some editing or whatever. And then they realised actually that that's not the case at all, and a lot of it was tightly scripted. So they maybe went in with that same sort of approach. Or look, here's the line, say this, and then feel free to riff on it.
Riff off it, yeah.
But everything that's made it in, evidently, has been pretty tightly scripted.
Yeah, and there were some great lines in there. So talking script now, does that come into production? I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, why not?
And whatever. But there's the lines, like some of them are just like they're like throwaway lines, right? Where it's just in the middle of something. It's not done with like a big punchline necessarily. So like McLovin has obviously got some great lines, like when he's being not interrogated, but just being like asked questions by the cops, like, "How old are you?" "Old enough." "Old enough for what?" "To party." Just the way he delivers that, I thought was great. When he's trying on the tight pants and he's explaining what his junk's getting up to, and he's like, "Yeah, there's like one ball above and one ball like a division sign," which I thought was a pretty good one. And then I thought a nice link to our earlier episode as well, that Coen Brothers directing porn, which I thought it gave me a little chuckle.
I too had a little chuckle at that.
Yeah, well, there you go. So yeah, what about you? Any further notes on the?
No, I mean, I just wanted to see Seth reeled in a bit too, because they're not the best bits of the film. The best bits of the film are Fogel, and then I think the cops. And we will talk about plot and pick out some favourite bits, I'm sure.
Yep.
But I just think you're talking from the production. That's what you want to be realising. You want to be going, these are the guys that we want to focus on and let breathe, and and we need probably a little bit less of this guy just shouting over everything, just annoying everyone. I'd have just wanted to see that the balance shift a little bit with that.
And we mentioned about the script being written by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. Started writing it when they were 13. Pretty impressive. I mean, didn't finish it until they were in 20. So come on, get a move on, guys.
It reads like a teenager's written it, to be fair.
I think, but do you not think in like kind of like in a good way though?
Well, yeah. I mean,
from the perspective, right? It does seem like it is a kid's telling a story about how
it's definitely aimed at teenagers.
Yeah, rather than adult, 40-year-old guy sort of trying to do it. Does feel like it's from that perspective, but yeah, impressive enough. I thought. Okay, let's move on to the plot, which I think will have a fair few of the talking points about. So. This is obviously all set within a 24, 48-hour period?
It's like a day in the life, isn't it? What era is it set in? Is it the 80s?
No.
Or was it
I think it's just modern. Yeah, because they've all got like cell phones, not very good cell phones, like...
Yeah, okay, right.
So I think like early 2000s, I would think. But anyway, it's small scale, focused on just that one day and the two kind of plots that align at the end. So I kind of felt like it was a tight enough plot without it feeling sort of unambitious or anything. What did you particularly hate about the plot?
Well, let's not go putting words in my mouth.
Oh, sorry. What do you dislike?
Well, how do you know I dislike the plot? I might like the plot.
Oh, did you like the plot?
Well, you'll like this. The line I've put on my writing, it just says, "There's a plot." I mean, I didn't think there was much of a plot, which isn't necessarily a problem because we're talking about like
it's a comedy
film, right? It was essentially just a series of little set pieces where they thought, well, what happens if we have them go to a bar with the cops and then this party gets, and then they're just stitching them together because essentially there is only one thing here. Well, they're just trying to get pissed and get laid.
Yeah.
Load and get laid.
That's the MacGuffin, as it were.
Exactly. So I didn't think there was much of a plot. And that's absolutely fine. But I come back to what I said earlier. That could have been fun if every punchline wasn't a swear word and only a swear word. That was my real issue with this film.
Yeah, you're not a fan of swearing. We're aware of this.
Listen, I like a good swear as much as the next bloke, obviously.
Just not for being funny.
It's colour. It's not substance.
Yeah. What did you make of the bromance angle? So that side of it.
No, fell flat.
Yeah.
Yeah, because and again, I'm just repeating the same stuff over and over again. It fell flat because I thought Seth was such an arsehole. I'm going, why are they even friends? And they don't do any rounding out of the character, right? Which they don't need to, because it's a comedy. We're not supposed to take it that seriously. But he is so annoying. Right? I had a really horrible thought, right, about this. A little moment of self-reflection, because I thought, thing is,
what if Seth dies?
Are we just supposed to accept, right? Because they're not going to round the character out. Are we supposed to be able to identify? Oh, we all had that one friend who was a bit of an arsehole. Like, I didn't. I can't identify. Because if I had met that person, we know where this is going. If I'd have met that person, I just wouldn't have been friends with them. And that was the question I was like, well, why is he even friends with him? And is it one of those situations where you go,
if you don't know him,
it's you.
It's you, yeah.
So it might be me. Actually, there's nothing wrong with this film. It's me that's broken.
See, I just think it's like classic codependence, though, right? So in this, it's like the reason they're friends is because they've always been friends, and the reason they're still friends is because they've always been friends. And even when he's being a selfish arsehole, he's got nowhere else to go, right? Because they're just in each other's pocket the whole time. And yeah, there's a slight moment of realization that comes towards the end. It doesn't like fully round the character, but he kind of understands that essentially he's been acting out because he's feeling like a failure, and he's going to be going off to a different college, and he's not going to be with his mate, and old Fogel and Evan are going to be going off together. And there's all of that sort of essentially like regret that comes into it. But as you say, it doesn't need to be a fully you don't need to have a fully rounded character in this type of movie.
No. But that they annoyed me so much in their different ways. Those two. That's why I just couldn't be arsed with that bit. So it didn't land for me at all.
Okay. I mean, I will say when I first watched it again, like I found it when I first watched it back when it was released.
Yeah.
I found it really funny. But I felt a little bit like, just like, the whole like romance thing, not that bothered. But on repeat viewing, I don't know. I think there's a little bit more there, and it does give it a little bit of heart.
You identify with either one of those? Is this where we're going?
Funny you should say that. Well, no, I think I think I could definitely relate to the Evan character. Just.
So you weren't drawing dicks left, right, and centre?
I wish I could draw dicks like that.
There was some whoppers in there.
That was amazing.
Hell of a piece.
I mean, that was almost the highlight of the film as well. Just that whole little telling of that bit of the story, and then at the end credits, just all of the pictures. I want them on this wall.
Did you spot the dick that had a dick?
Probably, but I didn't really. There were so many dicks going on, and I'm not sure.
Big old thing spreading its legs, which are actually its balls, and then obviously where your dick would have been, there was a dick.
Oh. Was it one of these things you kept on looking, and that was spreading its balls, and then there was a dick,
I don't know.
and then
it's worth a zoom.
Carried on and on.
It's worth a zoom.
Yeah. But yeah. What can I say? I like dicks. What about the whole McLovin with the cops subplot? We've kind of talked about that.
Well, he's the best character, McLovin.
Not really a subplot, though, is it? Actually, just saying that it is. It's kind of quite a major part of it, and provides a lot of the fun and humour for me, anyway.
I also think he's the coolest character, right? So, despite how they take the piss out of him, he's the one that's got his own sense of identity. Like he's wearing, and this is why I asked you what years it's set in. He's wearing a Metallica and Justice for All t-shirt, an album that came out in 1988, right?
Yeah.
But he's just like, well, no, I think these are cool. I'm gonna wear it. Like nobody else is gonna be wearing that t-shirt. He's the one that goes, yeah, I might be a little dweeb, but fuck it, I'm gonna get a fake ID. Look what I've done. And then he goes, when it's time to pick your name, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna get McLovin. Whatever. So he's the one that's got a real a sense of purpose about him. He's much cooler than the other two, even though he's ostensibly just a third dweeb.
And he does have not to get serious, but he does have the actual journey of he's one that does actually have the payoff with conquering his fear to be able to speak to the girl and essentially just being himself, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything complicated. It's not a grand gesture thing. He just kind of psychs himself up and goes and dances with her.
Yeah.
And dances like a dweeb, but is himself and basically acts like himself with a little bit of help at the end from the cops treating him like a
we have to have a word about that.
Do we?
Yeah.
Oh, let's do it now.
So Fogel's a cool cat, right? Even though you think he's just going to be fodder to be beaten by the other two all movie, right? But really, he's the cool guy. He's the central character. I wish he was actually the central character, but whatever. The cops are cool too. They are a bit of comic relief because they're just ridiculously stupid, right?
Yeah.
And that's all you need out of them. Let's not complicate it. They provide some actual funny bits rather than Jonah Hill's funny bits where he's just swearing, okay? And they were cool up until the point they made them self-aware.
Oh, at the end when they kind of said, no.
Yeah, we knew actually. It's like, well, now that joke, you've just taken that joke away anymore now. They're not stupid. Now they're just an unbelievable level of stupid. Or, you've jumped the shark almost. Because they're pretty stupid either way, let's face it. Now they're self-aware stupid, and that's not funny. So you're talking about plot. That's an error for me. I enjoyed them up to that point.
I think that's actually a fair point. It did lead to a good bit for me though, where as they were coming out of the party and he was
can you arrest us?
Wrestling him and stuff. And then that kid just goes, fucking pigs.
They could have done that.
Spits on him and then he just goes up and just gets him with his truncheon right in the face.
Yeah. They could have done that anyway, though,
Yeah.
They could have, you know what would look cool? They could have suggested it.
Yeah, true.
Anyway.
Yeah, I can do that.
What would you change, if anything?
I don't know. What would I change? No, I don't think anything because there was nothing that stood out to me that took me out of the humour. Like there was parts when they got like serious. It was like they were both like pissed, talking nonsense, serious. So it didn't like take me out of that. I get the whole like self-centered friend being focused on one thing is annoying, but I thought that's actually like that is what teenagers can be like.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it felt like this is going to sound stupid. But it felt like realistic. It like obviously not, but it felt like this could happen in America.
Let's not rule it out, Christ.
Two repressed friends. Going on this and having the adventure of their lifetime.
Well, I did see a thing that said a review that said Emma Stone saved Seth from being an incel. Because had she not, his next thing was shooting spree for sure.
I don't think so.
Oh yeah, that levels of pent up aggression. They simply can't be contained by a buck of dicks.
I do think the one thing that felt odd to me was that it being such a teenager-focused film, right? The parents were literally nowhere.
Yeah.
There was not even like a reference. There was like
there's one scene with
one mum. That was it. And right at the start, and then for the rest of it, it's just like not even like any reference to it. Which, considering like how much of like parents are a bigger part of your life at that age for relying on, I suppose, less so in America because they're driving everywhere and stuff like that.
Feral kids in America.
All that. But
is that what we're saying? Is it?
Not even,
happy with that
not even a reference beyond like sucking on your mum's tits and dad sucking your dick or sucking your dad's dick. That was about it. Which I thought, I don't know, felt a bit odd.
Well, what, sucking your dad's dick? That would feel a bit odd.
No, sucking your mum's tits. That's what I meant. Sorry. But no, that'd be, I guess, some sort of reference that their parents did exist in some way. That would be about it.
Yeah, I'd have just dialed down
the swearing.
No, I would have dialed down the swearing a bit. I'd try and make Seth a bit bit less unbearable, and I'd have definitely changed that bit where the cops become self-aware. I thought that ruined their bit somewhat. But
what did you make of the sort of end bit of where they're at the party, right? So where they turn up essentially sober, right? And Seth is getting hammered on his blue booze and stuff, and then there's the sort of essentially the reveal that Emma Stone's character doesn't drink; she's essentially like a teetotaler. And then the Becca character, it's like she's the one that's wasted and all over him, and it's him that is actually like having to pluck up the courage and get pissed, and then is actually really not wanting to take advantage or anything like that. As it feels like a bit different to like American Pie, for example, where it's very much boy-driven, whereas this is at the end, it's like the girls seem to almost have the power. Yeah. With that last little bit, which I thought was quite a neat little.
That's a good point. Yeah, hadn't considered it. But it's a good point.
Yeah, and both of the girl characters, not just like traditionally beautiful cheerleader types necessarily either as well, which I thought was like an interesting choice. And even like the hot girl that like McLovin's going after doesn't seem like she's necessarily like.
Well, the whole thing is much more low key and less.
Low key is a good word.
Yeah,
term.
Yeah. No, I mean, I didn't give it a great deal of thought. It's a good point. I kind of hoped that none of them ended up having sex.
Ever.
Just because I thought that might be a bit funnier. Although I guess the way they did that was fine too, because actually the only one that did have sex was McLovin.
Didn't finish though.
It doesn't matter. He was happy as a pig in shit. It just counts. Still counts.
So, not quite plot related, but for you, what does constitute a successful, enjoyable comedy?
Oh, thank God for that.
No,
just a tip.
What does constitute success? Wow,
I mean, there's what I would count, and there's what the missus would count as cheating. They're two different things. My bar is much stricter than hers. You know, she'd. Let's just get that on record.
Oh, jeez. So yeah,
sorry. What was the question?
What constitutes to you like a successful comedy or like an enjoyable comedy? What is there like? Is there a bar it has to pass for it to go like, yeah, you're fine?
So I grew up watching a lot of slapstick comedies, really some quite old films and shows.
Chaplin.
Not quite Chaplin, but like Laurel and Hardy, Marx Brothers and things like that. Norman Wisdom, if you ever saw any of those. Mm-hmm. So I grew up watching those, and then later on, again, still old films, would come the spoofs.
Yeah.
And I like the spoofs.
The Naked Guns.
Your Airplanes. Top Secret. I like the spoofs because I think for them to work, you've got to be quite subtle. You've got to be quite clever. Some of those, because you're often doing callbacks to things, you know. You're not just... the better ones are certainly the ones that do that rather than just completely lampoon something and just go over the top. And then I got into essentially just Jim Carrey. So, you know, like The Mask and Ace Ventura and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
It sort of peaked there. And then everything then, I'm comparing to that. And I honestly struggle with a modern day comedy to match up to any of that in various ways. I watch comedy films and think, well, you know, that's just a bit too brash, or that's just, you know, that's a bit too crude, or what have you. But one of the key things, I think, is when you're sat around with your friends, how quotable is that film?
Yeah.
So you can just say a line and then that's enough. Somebody just says a line or a word and then the other, you're going to rip back and forwards. So I think if a film does that, whichever way it goes, you're halfway there for a good comedy.
So there's no, you don't know. Well, I don't know. I found, similarly, like recently, I find it difficult, say in the last, I don't know, 10 years, say, to name a traditional great comedy.
Part of that, in my non-expert opinion, though, is the
I'm
slide.
getting old and boring.
No, I don't think it's you. The slide towards not taking any risks that filmmakers take now.
Yeah,
so there's no such thing as a straight down the line comedy anymore, because it also has to include a bit of romance and a bit of action, in the same way there's no such way as an action film anymore.
Yeah.
It's got to include all of those things too.
And I think like some of the films that I've laughed the most in, I think, have been like some Marvel films that have had like really funny parts in it, where obviously like humor is it's not a comedy, but they've written in lots of funny bits to it, rather than like a straight out comedy where you watch and you're like, you go in knowing that this should be funny, and then it doesn't meet that expectation, or like you just have a couple of chuckles here and there. I did an interesting experiment rewatching this film. So I counted the lols and counted how many times I sort of chuckled out loud. So what would you say? So this is where I was trying to go for it. Like, what would you say would be like the minimum number of lols for a comedy film to be a successful comedy film?
I don't know. I think I could watch a film and enjoy it more with my mates. So I think I could probably not necessarily laugh out loud that much watching it, but then enjoy riffing backwards and forwards more afterwards. So is that a successful comedy film, or do I just have funny friends? What's going on there?
You've definitely got one funny friend. Yeah.
Is the funny friend in the room with us right now?
It's not a seance. So I counted 6 lols, like proper, you know.
It feels like it could be quite high.
Yeah, I thought it was quite high. And then 10 like out loud chuckles that about, and then obviously the smirks and the smiles and the things, which I thought that counted as like legit comedy numbers.
Yeah, I think that sounds like good numbers. You're wrong, but it sounds like good numbers.
Yes. That's a common thing with sense of humour. There is definitely a right and a wrong.
Yeah.
All right, so this brings us to our final section before we reveal whose needle has been moved. This is why you're wrong. So, closing statements from each. I'll go first as the liker on this one. So, I'll be honest. The first thing I said when I finished rewatching the film, watched it with my wife, and I looked at her and I said, I didn't love it as much as I remembered. But I remember, like, really love it. Like, I remember, like, it was...
You were young.
Oh, my God, hilarious.
Yeah.
Like,
that's normal, isn't it?
Yeah. But I think, again, like, the more I thought about this, you know, as I said, the 6 lols, the 10 chuckles, legit comedy, it's got enough of it to be interesting. It's got the iconic character of McLovin. It's got the females taking the power at the end, so it's not just a big boner movie. So funny, got a tiny little bit more depth to it, but not really. But for me, it's just it comes down to, it's a comedy film. Did I find it funny? Yes, I did.
I'd love to open this up and say this is why you're wrong, but that last sentence is very hard to argue with. In terms of substance for this film, there was only really one bit that I could identify with, which they just got glimpses of getting right. So it's a bit of a coming of age thing, right? Mm-hmm. It's very much a day in the life thing. I just thought there were just bits of drinking when you shouldn't, because you're not old enough to get it. And when you do that, it's not like when you're old enough and you go to a pub and pretty much a normal night just unfolds, right?
Yeah.
When you shouldn't, because weird stuff can happen and you can end up in weird places with weird people you didn't necessarily know beforehand. Because essentially you've got a group of people who are all on the same mission. And they're all trying to get... And they were just glimpses of getting that. And my only problem with what they did with that then is it was never fun enough for me to actually go, yes, this is a good comedy film. Because it's like, you're so nearly there. Oh, but then there's no real payoff here. Even you've not really done anything funny enough except make another dick joke. Now, the cops brought more of that, but then I was annoyed when they undermined them by making themselves aware.
Mm-hmm.
And without that, the rest of the film is just predicated on this friendship journey of these two guys, one of which I found incredibly dull and the other which I found incredibly irritating. So, most of the comedy didn't land for me because I was just annoyed with them. The best bits are McLovin, of course. There are some good bits there. So I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. If you find it funny, you find it funny. It just didn't work for me.
So has your needle been moved, Carl?
No.
Still a don't like?
Yeah, still a don't like. Yeah. But, it's pretty non-offensive.
Despite all of the bad language.
Yeah. As long as the certificate is appropriate. Has your needle moved any?
As I said, I didn't love it as much as I remember loving it the first time I saw it. I would say that
it's just age, then, isn't it?
I think it maybe is a little bit age. You've raised some good points with the undermining of the.
You say this every week, right?
The cops.
And let's just get it on record now. I am never going to acknowledge that you've done that.
What?
So every week you say you raised some good points.
You're never going to tell me.
I'm never going to acknowledge that. No, I will take your points and pass them off as my own. All right. So I'm just saying, if you want an out, if you want to be able to go, just dismiss my opinion out of hand or talk yourself round, that's absolutely fine. I'm just floating that out there.
So, you think I'm saying this so you say it back?
Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. You just want to cuddle.
Yeah. Oh, you're a strange man. Yeah, so you raise some points. I can see. See some points. They're not good points now. They're just points. You spoke. You occasionally spoke. I can see how the Seth character could be annoying. I think he was meant to be a bit intentionally like that, but I could see how you can go the other way. I don't know. I just think, as a comedy of its type, of its genre, of its time, I can't go below a like.
Can't go below a like.
Solidly in a like. So I wouldn't say you've moved my needle, as usual, but
you know, I left here last week. I had in my head the Darkness song, with a slight twist on it. And all I could hear in my head going over and over was, "Get your hands off of my needle, motherfucker."
There we go. We'll have a musical episode one where you just get to sing the whole review. All right. We move on to the data section, which we will be using to populate our budding database, which is ever not developing. But it will grow. It will. So quick rundown
That's what
of some ratings. Quick rundown of some ratings.
Very movie appropriate joke.
So I rated it a 4 out of 5 on the Letterboxd. I don't know if I feel comfortable saying it's a full-on 4 rather than the 3.5.
Big that, yeah. 4's big.
So that may drop on reflection.
That's what he said again.
Oh, God. The IMDb rating, 7.6.
Yeah. Not surprising. It did well at the box office.
Interestingly, Metacritic, so the critic thing, 76. So literally exactly the same little weighted score, which I thought it must be hard to find a comedy which is equally appreciated by both the mass audience and critics. He says, not having looked at this at all, so it might be really common.
I haven't logged mine on Letterboxd yet. I didn't want to do it before to give you a chance to read it.
Oh, yeah. Sneaky.
Mine will be a 1.5.
1.5? So the average on Letterboxd is 3.9, so you're wrong. It's the conclusion there, obviously.
I remind you that this country voted for Brexit and the US voted for Donald Trump.
I was going to say it's not just the UK.
They may do again.
Good point. Yeah, we're all screwed. Well, rewatchability, Carl. Where does it sit on your rewatchability? Is it rewatchable?
I'm afraid if it came on, I would turn it over.
If it was like halfway through, I would definitely keep watching it. If I was, because it's a comedy, it's funny bits. I would like it, and plus I need to see the reel of dicks at the end again, which I might just watch on its own, which isn't saying anything.
Is that the title of your letterbox review, by the way? I just love dicks.
I just love dicks. Okay, best scene, Carl.
I think it's the bar scene with the cops.
But the chasing part, or
the first one when they go, and they're just getting loaded, and then the call comes in. So they've already apprehended the bum or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the call comes in, they've got to go, and they're just like, we can't pay for these. And he's like, oh, should we get some beers for the road? 13 beers for the road. Yeah, I quite like the bar scene. Of course, McLovin just sat there the whole time being like, Jesus Christ, like this is... And, they're still trying to get beer across town, and he's just sat there getting loaded with some cops. So that's quite fun.
I struggled to get past the flashback scene of...
Oh, it's dicks again, isn't it?
Drawing the dicks. I'm not coming off well on this. I should have done like a Control F for dick.
You can only be yourself,
how many times I meant this is true. This is true. It did have me in stitches, though. It was genuinely, I was just...
There's a joke in there somewhere.
Best quote, Carl.
The best quote I've gone for, which, to be honest, probably didn't even make me laugh because of the film, but it made me laugh because of this podcast, was, I'm sorry the Coen brothers don't direct the porn that I watch. That made me laugh because I couldn't wait to say to you, although if they did, it would probably just be missionary with the characters saying weird shit.
There you go. See, my favourite quote was, nobody has got a hand job in cargo shorts since Nam. Which I just thought was a great line. Okay, is it a tearjerker, Carl? Did you cry?
Well, hang on a minute. Have we skipped over best character?
We don't do best character.
We do best character.
We don't.
We do best character.
We don't. We could do this for a while.
We do best character.
We don't.
We do best character.
We don't.
We do best character.
Have we?
Yeah.
Have we done best character previously? We can cut this out.
We do best character.
Didn't
I'm not going to put it out. We do best character.
I've not written it in my notes in any of the previous episodes we've done.
We do best character.
All right. Who's your best character, Carl? It's McLovin. Why am I even bothering?
Yeah, of course it's McLovin. Yeah, of course it's McLovin.
I'm sorry, you've missed out telling me the thing you've already told me. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. That was well worth derailing the podcast for. Thank you, Carl. My best character, I mean, it probably is McLovin as well. Like, he is probably by far the best character in this and most iconic. Happy to move on now to the tearjerker.
Yeah.
Is it a tearjerker?
No, it's not a tearjerker. Christ almighty.
I don't think I even cried with laughter necessarily either, so I don't think there were tears there.
Have you ever cried with laughter?
Yeah, definitely.
At what?
Yeah, I don't know about films. Don't know.
Oh, yeah, fair point.
Yeah, definitely have cried.
Yeah,
cried with laughter.
Yeah, but a film would be quite a feat, wouldn't it? A film gets you in that.
Yeah, I think you'd have to be in the mood, wouldn't you? You'd have to be in the mood, and probably with some mates, and probably something sets you off on a giggle loop. Yeah. What about Jerker? Any gratuitous nudity?
Well, I'd thought about this. I couldn't find a definitive answer as to what the certificate was on this movie.
Really?
Yeah, so I was thinking to myself, there's no way they were going to use some gratuitous nudity in here. One, because it's American and their censors are really strict. And then tapping into that, it's aimed at kids.
15.
So it'd be completely... Well, it's 15 here.
Yeah. Probably rated R, I guess, would it?
Well, yeah, which made me think then, well, that's going to be because of the profanity. So they're excluding their target audience from going to see it. But it still did quite well at the box office.
But there wasn't any gratuitous
No,
nudity.
there wasn't.
There was a topless girl on a magazine, is that it?
Yeah. There wasn't, which I was going to say was to its credit.
To its credit, yeah, I thought so.
But then I took the rather more cynical route of going, well, it's not in their interest to do any of that because...
I suppose it is. That is very cynical.
But then if it's an R-rated anyway, then, yeah, maybe they have just taken that as a creative choice.
Okay, so top 3 films. So we'll go with of the genre, right? So what are we calling this? A teen comedy?
Teen comedy or coming of age?
Coming of age,
which were both things I googled to try and find other teen comedies or coming of age films.
It was actually quite difficult, wasn't it? Yeah. So what did you come up with?
I honestly couldn't. Right, so I've got 2 films. Because I realised when I googled those things, these films are not my bag at all. So I've got 2 films. One of them is a pure nostalgia thing, and it is American Pie, because I was at the right age to go see it. I think I was too old for this. American Pie on a rewatch would probably hold up terribly.
I was scared to actually. I was tempted to rewatch it as part of that, and I was actually a bit afraid.
I think I probably won't find that funny either. But one of the things I remember fondly about American Pie was, and I couldn't relate to any of that, just like I couldn't relate to this, but it was so glitzy. All these little, rich kids in their mansions and their spring breaks and all this. I thought that was just kind of fun. So I put that in there. I have some fond memories of that. It's probably awful, but that's fine. And then the only other one I have some genuine affection for and suspect might be a decent coming-of-age comedy is a film called Can't Buy Me Love, starring Patrick Dempsey.
Oh, really? Okay. Never even heard of that.
No.
You've not seen it?
I've seen it, yeah.
You have seen it?
Yeah. How could I list it?
Well, this is what I was thinking. You just you Googled it and you put it down. It was like, I feel like this could be a good one.
No. This is I haven't rewatched it in a while. But It's the only one I suspect I might have still hold some affection for if I watched it again in this sort of genre. So yeah, Can't Buy Me Love. Have you seen 16 Candles and Practical Magic?
No, but I was going to go down a sort of John Hughesy kind of route here and going I wasn't thinking that initially, and then I was like, would Ferris Bueller count here? Because
I think it probably would.
Yeah, and I think that would definitely be in it if we're counting that. And I actually rewatched Back to the Future the other day. I was like, that's kind of a teen.
You're stretching it a bit.
Yeah, I was stretching it that one. So the ones I came up with, American Pie, and I felt exactly the same as you. As I say, afraid to rewatch it.
It'll be awful.
Yeah, but of a time, of an age, I remember loving that. Have rewatched it lots when I was younger. Was great. Superbad, I think it fits in there for me. And then I say Booksmart, which is the girl version.
Yeah,
I remember very much liking that. I would definitely recommend you watching that. But if Ferris Bueller counts, then that's going to take the place of Booksmart, probably.
Because you hate women.
Because I hate women,
yeah.
Okay. And love dick. What about the director?
I would have loved to have finished there.
You still can.
Well, I tell you, where it ranks in Mottler filmography, who cares?
Yeah, quite frankly. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. I was just like, has he done another film? I don't know.
I've not seen any of them, and I'm so unenthused by this. Who cares?
Okay, well. You got anything else for us, Carl?
No.
No?
I think that's everything.
All right, well, that's all we've got then. So if we moved the needle for you, or even if we didn't, please do get in touch with us by email at hello@mtnpod.com. Our Twitter and Instagram is mtnmoviepod. You can also find our page on Facebook and on TikTok at movie.the.needle. And all the details can be found in the show description. So, that's all we've got. So from me and Carl, it's goodbye.
Bye.
I'm off to go put on some cargo shorts and lock Carl in the bathroom with a bottle of ouzo and see what happens.